welcome to the Brookwillow Knit channel. My name is Anna and I'm coming to you from the great state of Wisconsin. I don't know about you, but I have had an extremely busy October. The last 2 weekends I went up to the North Shore of Minnesota on Lake Superior for 2 different weekend trips with friends. And I'm actually going to Colorado this coming week as well. So I'm happy that I was able to get some time to sit down and catch up with everybody, and that's what we're going to get into today. So let's just jump right in. You may recognize what I'm wearing today because it's a recent finished object from 2 weeks ago, or not 2 weeks ago, 2 episodes ago. This is the Ranunculus by Midori Hirose, and I knit this using 1 strand of Knitting for Olive silk mohair in the rust color. And if this is not the color of fall, I don't know what is. I've already been getting a lot of wear out of it, and it adds just a perfect little bit of warmth to whatever I have layered underneath. And I just really love these bell sleeves and just the see-through cozy aspect of it. So yeah, my ranunculus, we all know what that is. But yeah, let's just jump right into some finished objects that I have. My first finished object is one that I knit pretty much entirely in the first weekend I went up to the North Shore. And I'm happy because I usually am the one who ends up driving just because my car is a little bit more reliable. But this time I made Mitch drive because I felt like being a passenger so I can knit the whole way up. And that is the Hipster hat. This is the second one I've made. It's a pattern by Petite Knit, just a classic rib beanie. You can take a look here. Yeah, so as you know, I already made this in another color. I showed it in my last episode. I just absolutely love this hat so much. I made it in Knit Picks Alpaca Cloud DK in the Marguirette colorway, I believe. This has been a perfect fit for me. I did modify the first one I made, and I modified this one a little bit more so. I made it about, well, much longer than the pattern calls for. Here it is in length. The pattern shows it just having 1 cuff flipped up, but I decided I wanted it to be a double roll so I didn't have to worry about like a sloppy cast on edge. And I'm really happy with it. And I made this one slightly longer than I made the first one, just so there's like a tiny bit more volume at the top of my head, because I don't like things being like squeezed down on my head. I feel like it makes my head look kind of weird. And I think it turned out to be kind of the perfect hat for it. And I think I have a picture of me wearing it up north. I'll put a picture of it right here. So yeah, not much more to say about this one other than I do have 2 other colors of yarn that I bought to make more of these hats. One of them for myself and one of them for Mitch. My next finished object is one that has received a lot of conversation around on here on YouTube as well as Instagram, and that is the Matawaka sweater by Linka Nuemann from her Wilderness Knits book that she came out. So I'll go ahead and try to get the whole thing in here. I am so excited about this sweater. I think this is the best thing I've ever made for myself as far as sweaters go, for sure. the color work on it was so fun to do. I'm in love with the colors that I used. I ended up adding an additional color to the pattern. Hers only called for 4 colors, but I couldn't decide between the blue and there's like this sagey green towards the bottom. So I figured, why not do it both? And if you've been watching this episode or this channel before, especially the last couple episodes, you know that I was a bit nervous because I was going to have to steek for the very first time. And the part that I was going to be steeking is the armholes here. So basically it was knit up the body just in a big tube, and then I held it on the needles, and then I knit each sleeve, which I'll give you the full sleeve because there's a little pattern down here too. And then basically I had to sew the reinforcement stitches first on the side, and then I had to cut into it and then sew the sleeve back on. And I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't know that's something that I was going to have to do when I was starting out this sweater. But I was already like halfway through the body, so I knew, well, we're in it for the long haul now. I mentioned that I didn't know if I wanted to use a sewing machine to make the reinforcement stitches, mostly because it was just out of laziness. I don't think I wanted to pull my sewing machine out because I've been in kind of a rut with sewing lately anyways. But I ended up just doing it, and I sewed the reinforcement stitches. It was pretty easy and quick rather than doing it with like a crochet reinforcement, which a few people did let me know about that, and I am still interested in learning that, maybe on my next piece, but I kind of just wanted to get it over with. And then yeah, cutting into a sweater was really weird. It's something I've never done before, but it wasn't as nerve-wracking as I thought it was going to be, so I'm happy about that. And then yeah, just attach the sleeve onto it, and it really was no issue at all. I did make some modifications on this sweater, like 3 or 4 to be exact. First of all, I decided to slightly crop it a little bit. Her original design was to go like over your hips and your butt, and I just didn't want all that much fabric with the sweater. I want to like show my butt. I think with my body type it just works better for me to have like a long crop or a slight cropped anything on top. So shortened the body, really happy about that. And since it was shorter, I decided for proportion's sake I needed to have a higher neckline, so I opted for the like turtleneck option, which she did have an option for that in the pattern, so that was an easy modification. Otherwise it would have ended like right here with a little roll, similar to how the edge of the sleeve is, which I also thought was really cute, but again, since it was cropped, I wanted a higher neckline. I then shortened the sleeves quite a bit because I noticed in the pictures in the book the sleeves were over the hands of the models, and I didn't want them to be over my hands. I want to be able to use my hands when I'm wearing this. So I shortened the sleeve by like 5 centimeters, and I'm really happy I did that because the sleeve grew quite a bit with blocking, which I also had a feeling it was going to. And now they're just like the perfect length, and they come to right about here on my hand. So very happy with how that turned out. I also made the sleeve more narrow than what was called for. The size I made, which was an XL, wanted 20 more stitches in the round added to the sleeve length, and I just as I was casting on, I'm like, I think this is going to be way too many. And I'm happy I made that decision because there's still quite a bit of roominess in the sleeve. And I don't have like the skinniest arms either. So I personally did not need that much positive ease. Very happy with how that turned out. It was really easy to make that change because the pattern is just a 10 stitch repeat, so I just did 20 stitches less, so 2 less of the little patterns here, and yeah, very easy. So those are the modifications I made, and I'm very happy with them. I think if I make any of her other sweaters in the book, I probably will make similar modifications if it's constructed in the same way. The yarn that I used is Lettlopi. We all know Lettlopi. It's my first time knitting with it, and it'll be my first time wearing it. I tried this on to take some photos, which I can show a picture of it with me wearing it. And as I was taking those photos, I didn't notice any itchiness, but I know that with like sweat and stuff, or if you get too warm, the itch starts to come out, so I'm prepared for that, I think. I'm planning on wearing this when I go cross-country skiing a lot, like on colder days where I need that extra warmth. So I'll be wearing a lot of like underlayers anyways, which will help. I did hear too that it tends to soften up and become less itchy the more you wear it, so I'm excited for that, and also excited to wear this in a little bit more because the shoulders especially are like extremely structured, which I think will be good in the long run. I can't remember where I read it or heard it, but it was an article or something talking about how raglan yoke type sweaters lose so much structure over time, and that armholes kind of need those seams to hold up for the test of time. And that's definitely what's going on here. So I know that this sweater is going to last for a very long time due to how structured the sweater is. So I'm happy to have this for a very long time. Yeah, so love this sweater. I can't wait for it to be cold enough to actually wear. With that being said though, we did actually get our first snow here already. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. There was like half an inch of snow on the ground, which is kind of crazy to see in October, but I'm ready for it, especially now that I have this sweater. So I have 2 new whips that I've casted on since we last chatted, and I'm pretty excited about both of them. The first one I'm going to show you is what I'm making using this yarn right here. I don't know if you remember this, but I got it from a craft show at a cidery, or a fiber festival at a cidery, and it's from a local mill in Minnesota, and this is Icelandic wool, so very rustic, similar to the sweater I just made, and it definitely has the more toothy fibers onto it. And my original plan was to make one of the hipster hats, but I was worried that it was going to be a little too itchy, and so I decided maybe I'll make mittens instead, because I actually don't have any handmade mittens for myself, and it is a necessity because all I have are some thin gloves for cross-country skiing or driving, and I just want cozy mittens. So I decided to make a pair, and I have one of them done so far. So here's the front, and here's the back. And this is the arched gusset mitten from Purl Soho, which is a free pattern, and I am so pleased with it. I made a few modifications that I'm very happy about. The first one being that I decided to do a 1x1 rib for the cuff here. It just calls for a straight stockinette stitch all the way to the edge, but I wanted like a little bit of structure to kind of hold on to my wrist a bit better. And so I made that. I tried it on. I'm like, this is great and everything, but it created a very thin fabric, and it was like a little loose on my hand because I made the adult size large because I just wanted big mittens, but my hand is a little more like a medium, so it's kind of loose, and I wanted it to be thicker to really block the wind and the cold because it gets cold up here, as you all may know, and I wanted something to keep me warm, especially when I'm like walking the dogs or something. So I decided, what if I made a second layer to it? So I decided to make a whole second mitten for the right hand side and put it on the inside and then sew the edge around here. So I'll show you. I hope you can see this. And the inside that I decided to use, I'll flip it inside out so you can see here, is actually some yarn that I got from Hobby Lobby, which is the first, only, and last time I'll be buying yarn there. I was on a big hunt for some commercial sock yarn, and originally I was going to use this to make some socks, but I've since just purchased a lot of luxury sock yarn, so I'm probably never going to get around to making socks with this. But it's just this very fuzzy nylon yarn that is like so soft on my hands, and I felt like it's the perfect liner for the inside of these mittens because the Icelandic wool is a bit itchy on my hands, and I don't really want to be messing around with that too much in the cold. Alright, my camera cut me off at the 20-minute mark, and I did not realize, and I don't really know where I left off with this, but I know I was talking about the inside, and yeah, I guess I love this mitten. It only took me about a day to make each layer of it, and that wasn't even like a full-blown day of knitting, so you could potentially make yourself a pair of these that are double-lined in like a weekend or a long weekend. So I highly recommend the pattern. It's super easy to follow, and you can't beat a free pattern. So yeah. My next finished object is officially my first gift knit of the year. I decided this year that I do want to knit some more gifts. Last year, I know I didn't really want to get too deep into it. I did end up making one pair of socks for somebody, but that was it. This year, I have a few more plans on queue, and I'm excited to make some of them. So I don't know if you remember this particular skein of yarn. I got 4 of these from my KnitCrate 1 month, and as you can see, like based on what I'm wearing and all of the decor around me, this isn't really one of my colors. I kind of like hate this shade of turquoise. It reminds me of just home decor trends in like the late aughts of 2000. I don't know. But anyways, I was at my niece's house. I was visiting her, and she was showing me her cool new bedroom that she painted lavender. And I thought maybe she would kind of like this color because it reminded me of something like maybe a 6th grader would like. And so I decided I'm going to make her a sweater, And I'm gonna make her, or I am making her, the sweater number 11 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And this is how far I am with it so far. It's been really fun making her this because she's at the size where she can wear an extra small, so I can buy patterns to make for her, but I can also use them for myself, and we can have the same sweater but different colors. So yeah, that's been fun, and it's knitting up super fast, probably because it's an extra small and I'm used to knitting myself extra large garments. But I also am really kind of infatuated with how the colors are pooling throughout. I knew it was going to have a unique design like this, but I didn't know exactly how it would turn out. But what has been interesting to me is the symmetry of it all. Like, there's like this a certain amount of chunk of yarn or color together here, and a certain amount of chunk of color here, and then they're like bigger chunks down here, but they're even on both sides. And then on the back here there was like this white pooling, but it was like centered. So it does seem like it's all in a good balance of each other, which has been pleasing to the eye. It wouldn't have bothered me if it wasn't, but it just, I don't know, it makes it kind of fun to knit. Like, what's it gonna do now? Like, what pattern is it going to create with the yarn now? So yeah, like I said, this has been knitting up pretty quick, pretty self-explanatory. Sweater number 7, nothing too crazy or complicated. And it has been a very nice palette cleanser, especially after the Matawaka sweater, which kind of challenged my brain a little bit more. So super nice little knit here. My next whip is more of a spinning whip. So I think I mentioned before that I was going to be doing Andrea Maury's Spin It to Knit It make along. Basically, we're all spinning our own yarn to eventually make the weekender sweater. And yeah, it's not a sweater that I officially had on my queue. I was kind of hoping that we were going to make the well, now I can't think of the name. It's the same sweater that matches like her curio socks. I'll put the name of it at the bottom. But yeah, that's what I was hoping we would be making, because I wanted to be able to use 2 different colors of yarn throughout, so I'm not spinning just the same yarn for an entire sweater's worth. I thought I was going to get a little bored. And originally I was going to use this color here. Well, I still am using this color. This is some fiber. It's alpaca that I got at that fiber festival at the cidery, which has been very soft to spin, but I will say it breaks extremely easily. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with me being a complete beginner, but it's been kind of frustrating. But I watched one of her YouTube episodes, and she started talking about combining 2 different yarns and plying it together, and I thought, why can't I just do that? And I'll kind of like ease my whole worry about getting bored. So I spin one whole thing of one color and one whole thing of another color and ply it together. It'll just keep it more interesting, and the yarn will be more interesting as well and have that hand spun effect. So I decided to order some color changing yarn that I thought would look kind of nice with that brown. I'm going to open the bag really quick. And this is from an Etsy shop called Three Waters Farm, and the color is Mountain Shadows. So I'll kind of show you the fiber that came with it. So all of this fun color changing fiber that I'm spinning. And this is a BFL Tussoh Silk, and it's so soft, which pairs very well with alpaca because we all know that alpaca is extremely soft, but I feel like this gives it a little bit more durability in the yarn, especially since it has some silk in it. So yeah, I have been having so much fun spinning up this yarn. I just take a little chunk at a time with each color, and watching it go throughout the yarn has been really fun. I did ply it together just to get a sampling of what it would look like, and I still have it on my Nitty Knotty here. I'll go ahead and show you. I'm going to actually get closer so you can see the colors a little bit better. So I don't know if you can tell the color changes throughout. My lighting is a little bit weird. But yeah, I feel like this isn't really doing it justice right now. But you'll just have to trust me that the colors throughout this are very pretty, and I think it's going to knit up a very unique color blend into the weekender sweater, which is just a solid color throughout the whole sweater. But I'm pretty excited with that. I feel like I keep starting spinning projects, and then I start another spinning project, and then another spinning project, and I just don't have enough to knit up a project with it yet. But what can you do? I am going to get started on the cream cardigan that I talked about in my last episode. I have like 3 skeins of yarn of it currently. So I think once I finish that sweater number 11, I'll get started on that cardigan, and I'll kind of gauge how much yarn I'll need for it. The nice thing is if I run out of that yarn, it's not going to be hard to get more of it from the Woolery because it's just an undyed yarn, so I don't have to worry about dye lots or anything like that. So I'm not concerned about running out of yarn for that. Speaking of fiber, I signed up for a monthly fiber subscription. I was going to sign up for a yarn subscription from Ritual Dyes, the tarot one, because it looked so freaking cool. But I thought now that I have a new wheel, it'll be fun to have a fiber subscription to spin each month. And I really love all of the fiber that Andrea Mowry's been spinning up, and I caught one day that she's in a fiber club with Hello Yarn, so I decided to sign up for that myself, and I finally got my first package. I'm very excited. I'll open it up so you can see it not through the plastic bag. I don't know the best way to show you this yet, but here is the fiber that I got, which is like all of the beautiful colors of fall. This is the Thorn Apple colorway that she has. Oh, I am just in love with it. And I think it's really funny because it reminds me a lot of the fiber that I got from Etsy. These could almost be spun together to make a really cool yarn as well. But my plan with this yarn is, well, the whole reason why I kind of decided to just finally get a wheel was that I really want to make the night shift shawl from Andrea Mowry, and I put all of the spin cycle yarn into my online basket, and it was like over $200 worth of yarn. I'm like, this is kind of ridiculous. I could probably just spin this yarn myself. I'm sure it'll cost about the same when I'm done with all of the fiber that's needed. But I don't know. Long story short, my plan with the yarn subscription is to spin up the yarn into itself, and whatever 6 months of fiber comes my way, that's the colors I'm going to use throughout the shawl. So in a way, it's kind of like a mystery knit along for a shawl, because the colors that I'm receiving are going to be a mystery, but I at least know what shawl I'm going to get. And if the colors are anything as beautiful as this, and they're all going to stay multicolored throughout the year, I think it's going to spin up some really cool yarn that I'll make for a fade for the night shift shawl, because I think that's just beautiful. And so far, this is like spot on for color with that. So yeah, that's my plan with the yarn subscription and what I will hopefully make with it one day. It's probably going to be the longest whip I have to date. Possibly. Maybe not quite as long as the K Facet carpet coat that I made, but pretty close. I have one final acquisition. I don't have any yarn acquisitions, which is kind of surprising. I think this is the first episode that I haven't had any. But I'm trying to just use up yarn, and now I'm getting into hand spun, you know it all. But I came home last weekend from the North Shore, and I'm like so tired, and I checked the mail as one does, and I had a package in the mail, and I was like, I don't think I ordered anything online. I've been like consciously trying to like pump the brakes on spending money, but I had a package and I was really confused, and I opened it up, and it was the set of Licky, the long needles that I wanted. It was from an anonymous viewer, however, I think I know who sent it to me, which is like beyond sweet. Like, I don't even have words for how nice that is, and this is something that I'm going to use the rest of my life, so it really is super special. But yeah, they sent me the long set because I mentioned I wanted to get the long set, but I just didn't have the money right now to do so. And I've already been using these so much. I swapped out the shorties for the long when I was knitting on the body, and I'm still using the shorties for smaller circumference like hats. I used it for the mittens, and I will for sleeves, but it really is nice having a long set of needles for bigger circumferences like a body. And yeah, so that's the acquisition I got. Again, I'm just like blown away by how nice that was, and I'm very appreciative for it too. That's everything I have today. I am very exhausted from my busy fall month of October. It's all been super fun, and each weekend I've been spending with like a different best friend of mine, so we're creating a lot of good memories. I am getting a lot of knitting done. I built a shed with Mitch's dad. I mean, he did most of the work, but I had a whole day off of work that I just helped him build a shed, and that was a lot of fun. And now we have a spot to like hold all of our storage and all that. But after this Colorado trip, I'm really looking forward to the month of November and not really having any plans. I just want to knit and spin and be happy with it all. But yeah, I hope you're having an awesome fall season as well. Again, I appreciate every time you watch, every time you comment and like my videos. It really means so much. It's fun having these conversations with you all. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, and that way you won't miss out on any future content. And yeah, that's it. Have a good rest of your weekend. Bye!